things, the major events that happen in the story. Okay? We don't want to talk about every little thing to show that we understood the story. We want to talk about the important things, okay? All right, how many of you guys love the movie Spider-Man? I know my boys do. Okay. All right. All right, if I'm talking about Spider-Man and I want to tell my friend about how much I love the movie Spider-Man, okay, I'm going to have to think about the important things that take place, okay? Am I going to talk about how Spider-Man ate a sandwich? Am I going to talk about that?
No.
No, I'm not going to talk about how Spider-Man ate a sandwich because it doesn't help me understand the story, okay? Should I talk about how Spider-Man scratched his head? Oh boy, there was this part when Spider-Man scratched his head? Is that important? No, I don't want to talk about that because it doesn't help me understand the story. Melanie, thank you for your active. Those two things, Spider-Man eating a sandwich and Spider-Man scratching his head, those aren't important things, are they? Are those important, Joshua? No, they're not. They don't help me to understand the story. I want to think about all the important things that happened. All right, I'm looking for my active listeners here. Hands and laps. Eyes up here. Caleb, eyes up here, please. Okay? So, it's important that we can think of those things. Everybody look at your graphic organizer for a second. We want to be able to think about all the important things that happen at the beginning, and the middle, and the end. What are some of the important things that we want to be able to discuss when we talk about the beginning? What do we normally find out in the beginning of our story? What do we find out when I read a story, when I'm reading a book of any kind? What do I find out?
The story takes place.
Ah, very good, Gilbert. Where the story takes place. What word do we use for where the story takes place? Jael? What's that called? When we talk about where the story takes place, what's that called? Do you remember? There you go. Okay, the setting. What else do we find out at the beginning of a story? Diego, go ahead. Diego, say it one more time for me. The characters. Who are the characters? Raise your hand. Somebody tell me who the characters are. What is a character? That's what I'm asking, guys. What is a character? What's a character, Melanie? What's a character? Who's in the story? Who's the story talking about? Right here. I said, we're not sitting by Jael. Okay, who is in the story? Okay, we find out those things. We find out who's in the story, where it takes place. There's one other thing that we might find out. What's the one other thing? Jesus, your attention's not up here. What else do we find out? What else do we find out? Melanie? I'm going to give you guys a clue. It's something that might cause trouble for the characters. What's that called? What is that called? Melanie? What do we call it when something... Say it one more time. The problem. Very good. About some of the important things there are that are taking place in the story. Okay? And maybe we might want to leave out... Listen up. We might... Pay attention. We might want to leave out other things that maybe aren't as important. Right? We don't care that Spider-Man scratched his head. We don't care that Spider-Man was eating a sandwich. That doesn't help us understand the story. We want to think about important things. And think about what happened in the beginning and the middle and end. Who are the characters? Who are the what's the setting? Where's the story taking place? Okay, that's going to help us understand. Okay? And leave out the less important things. This is a story called Mailing May. How many of you have ever put something in the mail? Raise your hands. What did you put in the mail, Melanie? What important things took place? Let's share some of those important events. Raise your hands. What things happened in the story? Jael? They wanted to sit up and stop rolling around. They wanted to mail May. So in the middle, so let's go to the middle. The middle's where all these things happen. That show how they want to solve the problem. Well, they decide that they're going to mail May. Okay? They mail. I'm just going to put that. They put on train. Okay? Alright, are there any other important things that we can share that help us understand the story? Okay? Alright, let's move on. Let's move on from here. At the end, we want to know how it turned out. Was the problem solved?
Yes.
Okay? Did she get to see her grandma?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and put that for the ending. Alright? May got to grandma's. Let's just leave it at that. Alright? Okay, now we didn't share all the events, and we talked about 2 important things. We might even be able to think of some other important things, but this helps us to understand what happened in the story, right? Did we have to talk about how they called May a chicken?
No.
Okay. Did that happen?
No.
Did it?
Yes.
It did happen, but do we really need to know that to help us understand the story? No, we don't need to know that, so we can leave it out, okay? Alright, we just want to talk about the important events that happened, alright, to show that we understand, okay? Alright, let's go and leave it.